And welcome to another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist. I am your host, Dennis Richkovsky. Some of you will recognize me as the co-owner of Flip Flops Donuts, and some of you will know me as your broker of real estate, who specializes in waterfront and waterview properties along the Crystal Coast, especially on boat banks and in my town of Emerald Isle, North Carolina. On this channel, you will find essential information from the inside scoops on buying and selling property to how to live with the ocean, rivers, and sounds that define the Crystal Coast. Today's episode answers two questions. Where is Down East, and what is Down East? Whether you visit here occasionally or live here full time, getting to know about Down East, North Carolina, its history and its heritage is a story worth telling. Before I begin, please subscribe to my video channel now or at the end of this episode. Recently, I read a column on the art and craft of wooden boat building in North Carolina, and Down East, North Carolina was prominently mentioned. Like most residents of North Carolina, I've heard the term applied to a much larger area of eastern North Carolina, but I believe it most accurately describes a particular section north of Cape Lookout and west of Core Banks, including Core Sound. If it had a capital, it would be Harkers Island. But like all good things North Carolinian, it's a matter of some contention. Barbecue, for example. And yes, I know that Maine has its own Down East, and fine boat builders too. While a great many folks in the Piedmont think Down East is anything east of Raleigh, or more specifically east of I-95, folks who are a little more familiar with geography will argue that Down East really means those little communities northeast of Beaufort, specifically Harkers Island and places like Stacy, Bettie, Davis, Sea Level, and Atlantic. I hesitate to offer an internet source as proof of anything, but for what it is worth, here's what Wikipedia's take is on this issue. In North Carolina, Down East historically refers to the group of communities east of Beaufort in Carteret County in the coastal plain region of the state. The residents of Down East Carteret County have referred to their group of communities by this name for many decades, but recently the media has broadened this term to encompass the central coastal plain region of the state as well. Most residents of these communities feature a hoy-toiter accent, a dialect remnant of Elizabethan English that was once spoken in colonial Carolina. This dialect is indigenous to the lowland area of North Carolina, in combination with the general southern accent of the southeast region. Down East is a sailing term. It means that when you leave Beaufort, you sail downwind and east to go around Cape Lookout and Shackleford and Core Banks. But there is also a road that can take you down east, the Outer Banks National Scenic Byway. The Outer Banks National Scenic Byway was established in 2009 after nearly a decade of hard work by a team of local residents along the Outer Banks. In 2003, representatives from Dare, Hyde, and Carteret counties began updating documents to request federal recognition for what was then a state scenic byway. The representatives ultimately morphed the three county jurisdictions into a regional advisory committee, which indeed succeeded in obtaining that federal recognition. The byway extends for 138 driving miles and 25 ferry traveling miles and crosses several islands, which include Cedar Island, Ocracoke Island, Hatteras Island, and Harkers Island. The route also crosses two inlets as well as 21 distinct coastal communities and villages along the way, each with their own appeal to vacationers and residents alike. This byway is one of only 150 stretches of road in the country that is designated as a national byway, and one of just a couple of national byways that are found within the state of North Carolina and the eastern seaboard region. In 2016, the Outer Banks Scenic Byway received signs that mark the entrances of the byway, designated points of interest, and other unique elements of the highway that are worth exploring. The byway's southern range includes the area in Carteret County known as Down East, with expanses of marsh interrupted by small communities where fishing is a way of life and locals tell stories of generations past. This summer is a perfect opportunity to discover the sun-washed roads of this corner of North Carolina. Visitors arriving in Down East from the north begin at the Cedar Island Ferry Terminal on NC-12 and quickly enter the Cedar Island National Wildlife Refuge. This refuge was created in 1964, but the road through its almost 15,000 acres feels timeless, surrounded by dense salt marsh outlined by distant stands of trees. The impetus for establishing the Cedar Island as a refuge was to maintain habitat for a species of bird known as the black rail. Today, the refuge provides a habitat for over 250 species of bird. The Cedar Island Refuge feels like a portal, not only to Down East, but also to its fishing heritage. As drivers leave Cedar Island, they will notice ample signs of that fishing heritage, from worn wooden docks alongside boat ramps to shops with faded signs advertising fresh local shrimp and traveling south. The next community drivers encounter is Atlantic, which historically has had a connection to education, exemplified by a self-imposed tax to build a high school in the early 1900s, as well as a commitment to fishing. When in Atlantic, you have to stop at the White Point Takeout for a shrimp burger or fish sandwich. More than likely, that seafood was brought to market by Luther Smith and Son Fish House, owned by son Dean Smith. Family trees also have deep roots in Down East places like Sea Level and Davis. For over 6 generations, the Morris family has worked the waters of eastern North Carolina, harvesting crabs, shrimp, oysters, clams, and varieties of fish. In 1984, a 5th-generation waterman, Jimmy Morris, began growing and farming delicious shellfish in the pristine waters of Core Sound. 3 generations now bring high-quality and sustainably grown clams and oysters to market. One of those markets is the Lookout Grocery in Marshallburg, which is also home to Captain Fred Gillikin, who led the first rescue of the newly formed U.S. Coast Guard in 1915 off Cape Lookout. In Davis, stop by the manufacturing plant for America's original crab pot Christmas tree, created by Down East crab pot trap maker Nicky Harvey and put together by hardworking local fishing family members. Near its southern extent, the byway splits. One direction swings west to Bettie, the byway's southern terminus. The other branches off to Harkers Island, where visitors can take the ferry to Cape Lookout. Visitors can also explore Chadwick Brothers Bait and Tackle Shop, a family business going back to the 1940s. 40 years later, the brothers started up a kayak rental business next to their shop. Locals all looked at each other and wondered, who's going to come down here to rent a kayak? Well, today, Down East Kayaks is going strong, renting to paddlers visiting from as far away as Japan and Norway. The byway continues to the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. Started by Luther Smith, the center celebrates Down East's history of fishing, hunting, and boat building. Some of the waterfowl decoys on display are over a century old, their wooden bodies smooth from long-forgotten hunting trips. To learn more about Down East, subscribe to my newsletter by texting your email address to 919-308-2292, or sign up for my blog on my website, www.eihomesforsale.com, and subscribe to Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist on YouTube. Stay well and stay safe. So come on down, please subscribe to my channel below, and definitely return next week to this same bat channel at the same bat time of 9 a.m. on Thursday for another episode of Emerald Isle Vacation Home Specialist.